Oh man, what a great break. Howdy, mates. It's your old pal CD here, the red-headed toy guru from Down Under, proudly brought to you by our sponsor, Aussie Sci-Fi Collectibles, the true home of Star Wars Down Under. Let's talk about November 26th, 1982. Mark it down because that day changed everything, and I mean everything. It's the day that G.I. Joe, a real American hero, first aired on TV, and let me tell you, this wasn't just any cartoon. It was the moment when TV, toys, and a whole generation of kids were ruined in the best possible way. Before this, kids were watching cartoons and getting brainwashed by all kinds of things. But G.I. Joe? Oh no. This was a full-on military-grade brainwashing operation. Hasbro, the genius company behind the toys, had figured out the formula. They were like, and hey, we've got these little action figures. Let's shrink them down to 3.75 inches, give them amazing outfits, and make a cartoon about them that's actually cool. And guess what? It worked, like big time. Now, before G.I. Joe, action figures weren't exactly the most dynamic things. But in 1982, Hasbro's brilliant idea was to make the characters feel like they mattered. They weren't just little plastic dolls you'd leave in the box. They had personalities. Enter Duke, the leader who was probably the only guy in history who could pull off a bandana and not look ridiculous. Scarlet, the badass spy who could kick your ass and still be a complete boss. And let's not forget about Snake Eyes. This guy was the ultimate ninja. He never said a word, but if there was a fight, you knew he was going to show up and whoop some serious Cobra butt. And speaking of Cobra, we get Cobra Commander, the guy with the ridiculous helmet who is always plotting some absurd plan to take over the world. Seriously, I don't know what's more absurd, the fact that he kept failing or the fact that we kept tuning in to watch him fail. Now let's talk about the cartoon. I mean, for its time, it was state-of-the-art animation. The action scenes were top-notch. Explosions? Check. High-tech gadgets? Check. The whole thing was like a mini action movie every single week. But here's the thing that really got us. It wasn't just about fighting Cobra. Oh no, this show was selling us on the dream. The toys weren't just things to play with. They were things that gave us a chance to live inside this awesome world of military missions and exploding bases. The MASS device, this teleportation weapon Cobra was after, was literally the most I want that thing I've ever seen in my life. Teleportation, that was it. Kids everywhere saw that and were like, yeah, I need that. I don't know how, but I need it. But here's the real genius of it all. The cartoon wasn't just entertainment. Oh no. It was the first real multimedia marketing machine. They were like, let's make these kids beg for the toys while they're watching the show. And guess what? We did. We watched, we begged, and we tortured our parents for every action figure, every vehicle, every playset we could get our hands on. And you know what? We loved it. The show made us feel like we were part of this elite team. You didn't just have a Snake Eyes figure. You had Snake Eyes, the ninja, and you were out there taking down Cobra. It wasn't just a toy. It was a mission. And then there were the PSAs. Oh, my God, those PSAs. You think you've got life figured out? Well, Duke and the gang would teach you a lesson about safety, teamwork, and morals at the end of every episode. I'm telling you, these did more for my moral compass than a year of Sunday school ever did. Seriously, knowing is half the battle is still one of the most iconic lines in TV history. I'm not sure I even understood half the lessons, but damn if it didn't make me feel like I was ready to fight Cobra or, like help an old lady cross the street. And let's not forget the impact this had on toys. This was like the shotgun wedding between cartoons and consumerism. Suddenly, every other toy company was like, we need a cartoon too. And bam, here come Transformers, He-Man, and Thundercats all trying to cash in. But here's the thing. None of them had Cobra Commander. That dude was a legend. And that's why G.I. Joe stayed on top. Fast forward 40 years, and the legacy is still going strong. We've got movies, comics, and don't even get me started on the vintage figures. If you've got an original Snake Eyes from the 80s, sell it now because you're sitting on a gold mine. And honestly, if you've been watching this long, I'm sure you've got your eyes on some G.I. Joe toys to add to the collection. And you know where to go for those, don't you? Aussie Sci-Fi Collectibles, where we have the best of the best. Look, G.I. Joe wasn't just a cartoon, it was a cultural phenomenon. It's one of the first real examples of toys and TV working hand in hand to create something that became bigger than both. It redefined how we look at action figures and animated series. And I'll be honest, it's probably one of the main reasons I'm sitting here right now, talking to you about toys, like they're the most important thing in the world. This all started back on November 26, 1982. Yo, Joe,